1v1 on Faymonville Approach. Stryker as Oster in the west base versus IceManJoker, the Soviets in the east base. And we're going to see a 3 conscript opening from IceManJoker, who has equipped shock rifle, guard, motor, and terror tactics. I hope we see terror tactics. I don't think I've ever cast a game where that got used. That could be fun. It's kind of similar to shock. What am I thinking of? Shock Army, in that it has shock troops and the ML-20, but instead of PPSHs, it's got fear propaganda artillery, which is actually quite powerful against Oster, so that could be a lot of fun. That could be a lot of fun. It also has a KV-8, which, as far as call-in tanks go, is not that good, but it's not bad either. So we could see that. That's, fingers crossed, maybe. And from Stryker, we've got Jaeger Armor, Spearhead, and Blitzkrieg. Probably going to see Spearhead this game. I'm getting that vibe that he's probably going to need Tigers in a matchup against IceManJoker, whose Soviet play is quite good. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Here in the north, Grenadiers have been forced to retreat by an early push by these 2 squads. He's going to take control of the north munitions. The south munitions also under his control by these conscripts, and the only thing down here is the machine gun and pioneers, unlikely to be able to aggressively push for that south munitions, so Oster has now lost complete munitions control. And as Oster, you're always torn when you're in the left side base. On the one hand, you do get this very powerful house defensive position, assuming your opponent hasn't pushed you all the way back here, so that is very nice for covering generally the south area, but you also are really far away from the munitions points, and it's just difficult to get to either one of these wings safely. And the north munitions is quite easily cut off by harassment at this point, so it can be tough. Ooh, kind of messed up his oorah maneuver there. Still managed to get clear of the arc of fire. He will vault this fence, maybe? No. Machine gun repositioning to inside the house. The Pioneers trying to engage at close range do manage to inflict a decent amount of damage here. They will be forced to retreat, but not before bringing that conscript squad down to well below half. In fact, they may not even have to retreat. I think they're going to win this engagement. Nice positioning of those Pioneers and usage there. That conscript squad has to retreat completely. Machine gun in the house still hasn't sustained any damage, but will probably need to leave the house against... Well, they do get suppressed before making it into cover, so they may actually pull ahead in this engagement over time. Meanwhile, here in the north, Grenadiers are engaging conscripts, and he definitely has the numbers advantage. Despite being at short range, he'll easily force retreats from both of these squads and get the north back under control. And the question is, will he be able to hold enough of the south using only a wounded squad of Pioneers and a machine gun? Probably not. But the Soviets have gotten healing a little on the early side. 4 conscripts purchased before going straight into healing, and then Molotovs, so a lot of manpower being spent on upgrades now, which means that the next push by the Soviets is not going to be that strong compared to what the Oster has on the field. We're also going to see Battle Phase 1 has already been purchased by Stryker, and we may see him taking up Tier 2 when he gets an opportunity to retreat that Pioneer squad. In the meantime, he's got to try and get this cutoff back under his control, but the conscripts there have already taken it and will make it clear of that machine gun's arc of fire. Before getting suppressed and continuing to play cat and mouse with it a little bit, he's going to have to try and capture that now with his machine gun, thereby losing his fuel. The Grenadiers here in the north continue their advance, trying to take territory. They will get the munitions there under control. These Grenadiers are going to get that fuel, but they will definitely be forced back by these freshly healed up squads of conscripts. And that squad of Grenadiers may attempt harassment of the victory point to slow the conscripts' advance, but they're definitely going to get pushed away in the near future as well. Conscripts here harassing do successfully take away that fuel point. We will have 1 LMG upgrade, by the way, on this Grenadier squad. It's doing quite nicely against those conscripts, and it looks like they're going to be forced to retreat well before capturing this fuel point. There they go. And the Grenadiers are going to take control.
We are bleeding, comrade! Fire incoming! The Russians are attacking! You will not let them advance! Get down! Grenade! We are taking losses!
And And it actually looks like these Grenadiers are kind of semi-winning the engagement up here. Those conscripts had to pull away in the second one, which was not participating in the engagement. Will now move up to finish the job. Here on the left side, Grenadiers will get that back under control. Soviets are trying to create a bit of a strong point here in this house, possibly prevent the Oster forces from making their way back down towards the south. We are going to see a medical bunker going up here, as well as a tier 2 structure. Those Grenadiers did get forced away finally by the conscripts up there, but they did also decapture this victory point, and they actually held the line on this munitions for much longer than you might have previously expected against what was coming. The Austrian munitions income remains very strong. In fact, they still hold the south, which is currently undefended. A squad of conscripts being mobilized to go grab that now. And those munitions are being put to good use. Only 30 currently in the bank, which means it's purchasing upgrades. We're going to have another LMG on this Grenadier squad, and the medical bunker, of course, also upgraded in the base. So lots of munitions being spent, keeping the munitions count low, trying to pull himself ahead in the munitions game. Will definitely, well, he's already pulled ahead in the munitions game, but doing so is going to allow him to pull himself ahead in the manpower game. And shock troops have now hit the field, going to make their way to the front line. As we know, Soviets does not need munitions for much other than grenades and Molotovs when they choose to come in with shock troops, and this will be shock rifle chosen, so no, nothing fancy this game, sadly. But you can tell that a match is proving challenging for a player when they bust out the real commander. They're like, oh man, my opponent's really tough, I'm gonna have to play for real. Can't use my troll commander terror tactics. Grenade will get dodged. She cancels it. Good read by both players. Conscripts closing into short range.
Shock troops can now be used to crush the enemy. The enemy has taken our supply sector.
It will get suppressed, but the conscripts in the house are going to be a problem. They are in green cover. I think all 4 models count as being in green cover from both of these squads, which is why they're taking so little damage here. And Panzer Grenadiers have been fielded. Those are definitely a good solution to units that are proving difficult to unseat from houses. They're a very munitions efficient way of getting your opponent out of the house. Don't require you to use grenades or flamethrowers. Molotov going out there, quite clumped. He needs to notice that. 2 crits! 2 crits! There he goes, just in time.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
Shock troops on the flank of those Panzer Grenadiers. Nice flank. There's not much here to stand in their way. Nice grenade in the retreat path. He could secure the wipe here as they cross red cover. Barely gets away. If he had just placed that grenade just a tiny bit higher, I think he could have gotten the wipe. That was a nice play by those shock troops. Just didn't quite work out. Meanwhile, up here in the north, conscripts will get forced away by overwhelming numbers of grenadiers, and it looks like the north VP will fall to the Oster once again. Shock troops are taking up position next to the building in case an opponent gets inside. They will be able to do quite a bit of damage at short range. The grenadiers are currently occupied with conscripts here in the south trying to get some fuel back under control. Austrian munitions remains pretty good, holding on to the north munitions throughout the course of this entire engagement, but losing both fuel points is problematic. Don't lose that grenadier squad. There we go. Shock troops wanted to secure the wipe, then moved around on the flank, but the grenadier squad retreated just a little too fast, weren't quite in position. Grenade goes out on the MG though, and this could be a much juicier target. Oh no! There it goes. Free to be stolen by the shock troops and conscripts here to support. There is nothing that Stryker can do about that, and that machine gun is a loss he could hardly afford. That's going to make things very difficult now for his infantry. The last thing he needs is an MG42 gunning him down. That being said, despite that loss, he's doing well in the north, getting this fuel back under control. Conscripts now being mobilized to counter, but this LMG should be able to hold off at least one conscript squad. Once they really start flooding up there, it's going to be a bigger problem. Panzer Grenadiers and Grenadiers here. Wow. I think I missed a grenade. I definitely did. Looks like it was a bundled grenade. Bundled grenade took out 4 shock troops, almost wiped the squad. Does get away. And these 2 squads will retake the south point, so the map is beginning to stabilize a little bit more in a vertical fashion rather than a horizontal fashion, as these Grenadiers are going to get forced away as well. And a flamethrower is in their retreat path. Fortunately, they're spread out. No lucky crit on retreat, and they should be fine. Tier 2 has been constructed, and we're going to see field gun. He may have been contemplating a Maxim, but he certainly doesn't need one now. They still have an MG42. As far as sources of suppression go, he's getting an AT gun to protect himself against a quick tank. Meanwhile, Stryker has purchased Tier 3, and we are probably going to see a Panzer IV from him in the very near future. He still hasn't chosen a commander, so we don't know if a Tiger is on the way for sure. But I'm quite doubtful we'll see a command tank if he's on Tier 3. In fact, one of the biggest strengths of the command tank is that it allows you to not go Tier 3. Or go Tier 3, I don't know. In theory, the command tank should let you bridge the gap to Tier 4, but I've never seen that successfully pulled off, so... I don't know, the command tank is usually just brought in addition to Tier 3 to give its bonuses to your other Panzer IVs, but... if Austria weren't so expensive, you might be able to see some more creativity in that regard.
We have the point secured. The enemy wants it back.
Panzer Grenadiers grabbing the south.
Sector has been cut off.
And a flamethrower is going off here in the north.
We have been promoted for our bravery, brothers.
Looks like
The enemy has 300
combat engineers
points
will win
remaining.
that engagement to force the Pios away. Here in the south, harassment continues with these conscripts and shock troops are now in those Panzer Grenadiers retreat path, which is problematic. They're going to be forced to retreat very soon. Taking a huge burst of damage. Retreat, what is he waiting for?
Incendiary artillery is now available.
Cutting it very close with those Panzer Grenadiers every time they encounter those shock troops. In fact, I'm not sure they're going to get away here. Those Grenadiers are actually blocking their retreat path. And those conscripts are going to get one shot at this as they cross the road. But the giant blob proved too much. And they were forced to retreat. So that Panzer Grenadier squad makes it away with a sliver yet again. And it looks like the Austria munitions control is starting to falter a little bit as the north has been taken and is being defended by a green cover position, flamethrower, and demo charge. That will be a dangerous location to try to retake. And fortunately, the Austria is currently focusing all of his efforts on just getting the south back, starting to concentrate his forces a little bit, just because he has taken some losses and bleed. He has had to spend a lot on taking up, and his opponent also has a stolen MG42, so that's not helping things. Ooh! What happened there? I'm not sure if he detonated that demo charge or if the Panzer IV just randomly shot it, but either way, the demo charge has been defused. The Panzer IV should be able to secure control of the north yet again. Pretty dangerous to be driving a tank around up here unsupported when the combat engineer squad has been left unattended up there for so long. You never know if there's going to be a bunch of mines. Fortunately, there aren't any. He went with the demo charge instead. Oh, I take that back. I didn't spot that one. Okay, well that's exactly what I was talking about. That will happen. You need to be careful about going through a flank of the map that has had combat engineers floating in it for so long. That could happen, and then this could happen, and suddenly you could lose your investment. Oh no! He needs to get forces over there to respond to this emergency situation as quickly as possible. The field gun is moving up. It's taking the north route, which is fortunate for him. If it had set up this way, I think it would already be a dead Panzer IV. That being said, there are Grenadiers trying to help screen here. They're going to get wiped, though, if he doesn't notice. He does notice, fortunately. Looks like he got a lucky break. That AT gun's positioning wasn't quite what it could have been if he'd gone around the south route and set up there. I think that Panzer IV would have gone down. So far, this Panzer IV has soaked up a lot of munitions, considering it's only been on the field for 1 minute. Detonated a demo charge, a mine, and an AT grenade. So like 150 something.
The sector is at risk.
Molotov goes out on those Panzer Grenadiers. The MG42 is forcing those Greens to retreat. The Soviets win the engagement and will secure their hold on the north, but the south is also being taken by this lone squad of unopposed conscripts, so Stryker is really falling behind on map control. He was doing quite well early on. He had a great hold on the munitions. Not great on the fuel, but now he doesn't have a hold on much of anything except for the 5 strategic points. But the resource income from those definitely should not be underestimated. fact that he holds those is definitely helping. I mean, he's got 36 and 22 coming in. Compared to his opponent's 48 and 30, it's not impressive, but it's not as bad as it could be either if his opponent had been cut-off maneuvers rather than just trying to secure the key points.
We are losing territory.
Most importantly, this Panzer IV is still alive, so he will retain that 125 fuel investment as he scales here into the mid-game. That being said, the IS-2 is going to get here quite soon, and he's probably wishing that he had made more of an impact with this medium tank when it originally hit the field. Taking out this machine gun, for example, would have been a very nice thing to do. Now he's got to rely on munitions expenditures to accomplish the same thing. It's not even working very well. He will get control of the South Victory Point and fuel now. Panzer IV has been fully repaired and will make his way back to the front lines at the 17-minute mark. Not been able to participate as much as he probably wanted it to. High explosive barrage going out on that suppressed clump of troops. They'll be forced to retreat. Only taking minimal losses, fortunately, and one saving grace, I suppose, of Stryker's army at the moment is he's taken no full squad wipes that I can remember. Neither has the Soviet player, by the way. Oh, except for the machine gun. The machine gun has changed hands, so that's a big part of the current situation. But other than that, I don't think there have been any wipes, and the veterancy is really getting up there. There are 3 Vet 3 LMG squads. This one is a little pressure, but it'll probably be hitting Vet 3 relatively soon as long as you can preserve them. Now unit preservation is going to start to get more and more difficult as the IS-2 is probably going to start sniping Grenadier squads, and he's going to need to be very careful. And that Panzer IV is going to have to make the biggest impact it can without getting taken out by that heavy tank. Squad forced to retreat by those conscripts. Panzer IV will continue to try to rotate around and accomplish what he can. He's currently positioned well on this IS-2's flank. They're trying to get engine damage off, but they're now clumped and he cannot afford to stick around for another Panzerfaust attempt. He just messed up a little bit there. Panzer IV does nail a shot on the IS-2's rear armor and is now going to disengage. He definitely doesn't want to get too risky here, especially since he does not have eyes on his opponent's field gun. He needs to play very safe while he waits for his Tiger to arrive, but he's currently at a huge economic disadvantage since his opponent did not tech up. If you tech up and your opponent does not tech up, you have to make a huge impact with your medium tank. If your medium tank doesn't do anything, and then the heavy tank arrives, you're now at a massive fuel disadvantage. And his medium tank didn't really do anything, it just hit a mine and then drove back to base. It only has 5 kills, not even Vet 1 yet. So this IS-2 is going to have no problem. And that Tiger's not going to arrive for another 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Conscripts and combat engineers moving across the south now, planning some defenses. Mines getting territory. Conscripts in green cover will get forced away by the LMGs here, and there they go. Wait. Almost thought that was going to be a squad wipe. They do get away. That was a squad wipe waiting to happen. He's lucky that overshot because they clumped hard rounding that corner. Ooh. Should be able to get away fine. Meanwhile, Panzer Shreks have been fielded. Definitely a good call, but he can't throw those in unsupported. He needs to use them on the flank in combination with a push from the front. Which is easier said than done, I know. And that Gren Blob is going to get suppressed by the stolen MG42. Just goes to show what a liability machine guns can be if you don't keep them very well supported. If you lose that to your opponent, it's just going to be a huge pain later in the game. Panzer IV continuing to look for good harassment opportunities on the flanks of the map. There it is! Is that the first squad wipe other than the machine gun? I think so. First Soviet squad wipe. Combat engineers go down. Could potentially recover that flamethrower with something. Here in the north we've got shock troops and combat engineers grab control of some of that territory. And the Grenadiers will heal up here in the base. He has been doing a good job in the later phases of the game of not suffering too much manpower bleed takes a little damage and lets it heal up here in the base. But speaking of bleed, his victory points are going to run out very soon if he doesn't make something happen. He's clearly waiting for a Tiger, but I have a feeling the game might end before his Tiger even hits the field if he doesn't get a victory point under his control.
Enemy is engaging us. The enemy has 75 points remaining. You appear suited for command.
Imagine how this game could have gone differently if that Panzer IV had just had Minesweeper support. Or just gone south instead of north. Now it's gotta just sit idle. It's just a huge resource investment and it did nothing this game. Except for wipe a flamethrower squad.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
Nice play by the Soviet though, for sure. To manage the threat of an early medium tank. Getting himself that field gun, AT grenades, nice mine placement, all of those things sort of combined to limit the effect that this P4 could have and then pave the way for the IS-2 to finish off the game. And there goes the Grenadier squad.
The enemy is taking what we have secured.
Victory points still securely in Soviet hands, only 42 now remain. Rifle grenade will force the MG42 to retreat. I don't think it'll get wiped, it still has 5 men remaining. Fine. IS-2 has been forced back for repairs by the pack and Panzerschreck combinations here, but they're falling quite low and also need to pull back for repairs, and all the Soviet has to do is continue stalling the VPs. 27 now remain.
The enemy is down to 25 points.
Desperate harassment attempt happening here in the south, though, to stall the game out just a little longer and try to make a massive comeback. 491 points is way too much to chew through, though. A KVA just hit the field, which is probably a good decision. It will obviously be vulnerable to the Tiger, but that being said, when there's only 14 points remaining, you just want to clear all the infantry off the field as hard as you can, get the territory, and just finish the game. You don't want to give the opponent time to actually use this Tiger. Some long drawn-out slugfest with your 2 IS-2s. Just get all that infantry out of there, get the VPs, finish the job. The Tiger has hit the field and is moving up to engage here in the center. The south remains in those Grenadiers' hands, but conscripts just moved up to grab them north. And if the Auster doesn't unseat this defense here in the center, then the game will end. It looks like that Panzer IV is actually getting a little overly aggressive, diving all the way up there. He knows the field gun is positioned in the center, and there's not really any anti-tank except for the IS-2 that could potentially stop him. So the Panzer IV has to single-handedly kill 3 full squads, though, and the time it takes to capture half of a victory point, that's obviously not going to happen. The Tiger has to do something in the center. It doesn't look like it's working, though. Conscript AT grenade bounces. Full squad gets wiped. Here it comes. Grenadiers trying to make a push for the VP itself. Tiger trying to clear up the infantry. Nice flank on the AT gun, clearing it out completely, but only 9 points remain now. Conscripts will suicide themselves in the VP just to hold it for the amount of time that they need. But at what cost? Another full squad goes down. The IS-2 has moved up to engage, and 2 Grenadier squads had to retreat from this. Grenadiers desperately trying to get the point under control here. Panzerschrecks are available to support, but the KV-8 has actually moved here to help as well. Panzerfaust connects with the IS-2, but another Grenadier squad gets wiped, and the Panzerschreck has to retreat, and then one of them gets dropped. 2 points remain. Nice hold on the center by the Soviets. He dedicated exactly the amount of resources to that he needed. And despite some scary-looking squad wipes there on the Soviets' infantry at the end, the comeback just wasn't possible. Although it certainly was a valiant attempt there by Stryker. I almost dared to believe at the very end that could happen. But I think the KV-8 was a good decision up here in the north. Take that under control. IS-2 did its job quite well. Panzer IV, again, just couldn't make the impact he needed it to in mid-game, and he eventually fell behind and lost. Good game. Allies win.